I think it's their last 3 matchups, right? In Grand Slams, it's 2-1 Carlos, but the 2 matches that Carlos has won have both been in 5 sets. And one was in the semis and one was in the finals. Finals of Roland Garros 2 years ago. I think Carlos does have these special tools and a belief, honestly, and that's almost just enough to get him through these hairy situations, if you will.
Yeah.
Again, that doesn't mean that Sasha's not close. And welcome to the Best 3 podcast and the 2026 Australian Open recap edition. TH, I feel like we've come so far. We've covered so much ground. We've lost so much sleep. We've watched so many matches. But right now is a really good time to kind of like take a zoom out and take a like what is it, 1,000-foot view that you
10,000
10, 30 whatever it is, depending on the plane, I guess. A macro view of the tournament, what we learned, what we didn't learn, who impressed us, what our thoughts were coming out of the event. I'll put it to you to start with. Did we learn anything different about the current state of? I'll start with the women's tour, and then we can get to the men's tour. Right? We've had about 5 months in between majors here, roughly 5 months.
Yep.
Relatively same players. New year, first slam, women's tour. What is different than we thought 3-4 weeks ago?
It's a great question, and clearly my answer is it depends, right? It depends on who you are, right? I looked at the first 2 seats, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was obviously, Świątek got upset there, kind of coming late in the tournament, but didn't necessarily have a bad tournament per se, a bad tournament for seeding, but not necessarily a bad tournament. I look at our 3 and 4 seed in Coco Gauff and Amanda Anisimova, who didn't have the tournament that I would have expected, especially having such solid years as before. I felt like Amanda never really got going. I mean, as much as she won matches, I felt like she got through matches. I kept thinking her next match would be cleaner, would be stronger, would be better, and that happens. That happens. It just so happened to happen this time at the Australian. Felt like Coco played some really good tennis at times. Mahova match in particular. Felt like, and then to have the unfortunate situation in the last match, I felt like, maybe we're reading too much into the serve and the forehand. Maybe she just got beat, and maybe the pressure and the frustration, all that, not playing her best, or at least not necessarily playing the way that she would have liked to have played, maybe is what the difference was. So the 3-4 to me is where I thought things kind of tapered off a little bit quicker than I would have thought. I did expect Rybakina to go the distance and get to the final. I thought I would give her the 51 to 49% edge on hard court against Sabalenka. So that one didn't necessarily show me anything I didn't know. We saw that in the WTA final, didn't we? We saw that same kind of prowess from Rybakina, especially on a, let's face it, when the roof's darn near partially closed. It's pretty much indoor tennis, and Rybakina shows up to play there. So I didn't see that much difference on the top 4, save for maybe a round or 2 early exit from the 3 and 4 seeds. I was impressed with Aryna Sabalenka from the standpoint of still having some gas in the tank. I was impressed with a few other players I'll get into later, but I was impressed that next round is still pushing the way that they can. At least she, as the representative of that next tier, especially at her age and at her level, I thought she played some phenomenal tennis the whole tournament. And did I learn anything? Yeah, don't count them out. You know what I mean? Was it a little bit, a little bit tough to see Mira go out that early? Sure, but I also was that impressed with Iga coming through and reaching the quarter. So there's so many good things I saw from this tournament, Alvin. To answer your question, did the main thing, keeping the main thing the main thing for Taylor Townsend? I thought, yes, it pretty much went true to form. No real surprises, maybe just a couple of speed bumps and hiccups, and that's to be expected in any Grand Slam.
Okay, that's fair. From my standpoint, I don't think I learned anything new about the women's game, right? We left the year coming out of WTA Tour Finals with a pretty clear, like, these are the women that can compete for Grand Slams. We coming out of that indoor season, we were somewhat convinced that Elena Rybakina, if healthy, if all things were pointing her direction from a health and off court standpoint, that she had the tools and the demeanor and the weapons to be one of those players. We were just a little concerned about, because she put it together in a Grand Slam, which she hasn't done in 3 years.
Right.
Question asked, question answered. Right.
Well,
And so
exclamation point.
right. If we want to take the assumption that Madison's run last year, we'll take it for what it was. I don't think anyone necessarily considers her to be a perennial Grand Slam threat. And I say that kind of with hesitance because on hard court with that serve and that forehand, it could happen.
Always
It
a
could
threat.
happen.
Always a threat.
Always a threat. But if you want
AJ
to,
Brown, always open.
right? Yeah. If you want to keep her in that group, or you want to say maybe Rybakina and replace her, let's just keep her in there for the sake of the argument. And now we just have another player who is entered, officially entered. Obviously, everyone has known what Rybakina can do, right? What her top end looks like, and she seems happy. She seems healthy. So now add another one, right? Now we've got 6, 7, I don't know, 8 women that on any given, maybe 9, any given fortnight can be the one hoisting the trophy at the end of it all. So if I have any questions, it's like if you go into a Grand Slam, we talk about Aryna Sabalenka's dominance, right? She's like the most dominant player since Serena. If the question is Aryna or the field going into another Grand Slam, you've got to kind of pick the field, right?
100%, 100%. And I think I want to put want to clarify one, and then I want to substantiate another. Number one, Aryna's consistency is still unquestioned.
Mm-hmm.
She's still getting to the darn finals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the field is in a bit of a revolving door. Well, which one of us is going to get there this time? But unfortunately, even Iga Świątek, who has the most slams of the rest of the field, I think she's got does she have one or two more than Sabalenka yet? Still, right? It's pretty
I think
close.
she has
5 and 6, maybe.
5 and 6 or 6
She's
and
got
4.
6.
Sabalenka's got 4.
But,
I think she's got. I think she has 6.
Right. So my point, I'm pretty sure she has 6. So my point is that's a tough thing to say with a girl that has 6 slams, right? At the same time, those 6 only one of those have come within the last year and a half. And so it's important to understand that her reign of dominance may be coming, maybe we're on the other side of it now that these other players are coming through. And the other point I wanted to substantiate was Rybakina went missing. It wasn't that she isn't there, didn't have the goods, had the issue with the coach and all the riffraff and rigmarole that came to. She did win a slam a few years ago and showed everybody she could beat the best. And much like, in a better way even than Anisimova, who's one of my personal faves, who also took a bit of a sabbatical, right? So we're talking about players that have come back to top form. And I feel like that's what Rebecca did toward the end of last year. And obviously she kept it going with the win here down there in Melbourne. And I think that's important to say because unlike an Iva Jovic or another player that's coming up, or Vicky Mboko who's coming up, these players were they were pretty good before. Once they've come back, are now healthy and so on, they've simply returned. And I think to your point, it doesn't the stats don't change, the ranking don't change, the 8, 9 top playing girls, that I feel like all these women came from Wonder Woman's island. You know what I mean? They're all just tall. You know what I mean? I mean, they are just some elite level athletes and ball strikers, man. It's very rare to see this many 6 foot tall women that have this kind of mobility, that kind of body control, grace, and feel. They're with very few to no holes. I mean, and all of them. I mean, to a person. are tall, and just there's not much that either of them are giving up on the tail of the tape. So I wanted to substantiate that fact because it's easy to kind of say Rebecca is now the new this and the third. Well, she is. This is not her first rodeo, you know what I mean? And I just think those are 2 points to really include. And it just means, for the WTA tour, man, you guys are in a very, very lucky and a very good spot right now because there is so much parity in the women's game. And as you said, the fact that any of them have a legitimate shot at holding up the trophy, buddy, that just shows how tough the WTA tour is.
Yeah, and just kind of continue on that, like as we talk about I think the way that we talk about the stacked rankings or the ladder of these women, like we have to look at two things at the same time, right?
Yeah.
There are the rankings, right? Rankings with a K, right? And those are mathematically driven, right? And you
Yeah.
need to be consistent throughout the year with some big results to move yourself up the rankings and collect points and all that stuff, right? Rankings make seedings make draws, and then draws make for what you play out and see in the tournaments. But I think there's also the ability for us who are talking about these players to take that for what it may be, use our kind of coach's eye here in this particular use case, and say, what is our own personal like power ranking of sorts of these players? Like,
Right.
if you tell me so such and such is ranked 9 in the world right now, but I feel like the player who's ranked 20 in the world right now, who is ranked 20 for a myriad of reasons, I feel like if they were to play against each other, I would pick the player ranked 20 over the player ranked 9. Something to that effect.
Sure.
Not the exercise that we're undertaking right now, but I
Yeah.
think just maybe laying the groundwork for how we might or might not talk about these players throughout the course
Yeah.
of the year is
Yep.
not necessarily tied to the rankings
Agree
per
with that.
se. Per se.
Agree with that.
Players on the men's side then. Did you
Yeah.
learn anything new? Are we any wiser than we were 3 weeks ago?
We have to give special props to, in my opinion, three players in in ascending order. Got to give a shout out to Elliot Spizzeri. Had a great match, had a great run at the Australian. You have to give it up to, uh, and we all know that five setter could have gone either way, right? No, Yannick was literally on the ropes. I mean, just roof not closing and a few more minutes out there in that heat, that match could have gone the other way. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. I got it. I get it. That's why he's Jannik Sinner and a Grand Slam champion. He did not. However, shout out to Elliot Spizzeri and his coaching team and his for all that he did. Think the stat I read, I'm not sure if he's 85 now or he's 85 before the tournament, but my gut tells me he's recently inside the top 100. So heck of a job for him to get through this whole thing. Number two, got to give it up to Lerner 10, who at 20 years old is reaching quarterfinals of Grand Slams. We cannot forget that. The man just capped off the next gen tournament 4 months ago, Alvin, maybe 3 months ago. Right. And
Right,
so we
right.
got to appreciate what he's doing to move the needle while we're kind of quick to put a few extra roses on the in the box of Yao Fonseca, which I think are in some ways deserve for potential. My main man Lerner is just winning some matches, and so I think it's important to appreciate what he has done, and his continued rise. He has not really stopped. He picked up where he left off, and in his case, fortunate enough to get another one Daniil Medvedev in the draw one more time because that was almost a special situation. And Alvin, I have to give a special just a special shout out. I mentioned something to it before the tournament started. 38th final at 38 years old, our elder statesman, our reigning GOAT, our still playing GOAT, who showed that he was still relevant. And while he could not have maintained the steam of that first set, he played some phenomenal tennis in that first set and let everybody know that he is still the GOAT. And while he lost the match, I think he proved that he can still play with the best of them. He proved that against Yannick in that match before. Was it the 5 sets? I can't remember if it was 5 or 4 sets. But bottom line,
Yannick was
it
5, yeah, that was 5.
right. But bottom line, play and gave us a very, very entertaining tournament, as well as some quality tennis pretty much every match, albeit helped out with the walkover and some other things and some extra days. We get all that, but just had to call those two things out. On your actual question, did we learn anything? We learned how far ahead Carlos is than most of the field. I still think Jannik is right there at a very close number two. He just ran into a former number one for 15 years in Novak, but I feel like the two of them, I will give him his props right now. He in particular are so far ahead of almost everyone else that it will take a while for the tour to catch up. I feel like we're entering in that phase of 05, 6, 7, or I think it was 04. It might have been 04, 05, 06 Fed, where he won 9 of 12, I think, in that range or
Right,
something like
right.
that. All right. I feel like we're heading into that kind of space. And there's only a few people that can really knock him off. And that's tough. That's tough sledding now for the tour. I like it for him. And hats off to him. He's deserved it. He earns it. He's earned it. Hats off to Juan Carlos and all the things he put into him from the start. Hats off to the new coaching staff. Mr. Lopez and all the rest of those guys that are continuing to carry the torch with him. But this young man is coming to his own as one of the greats in the game already. And I feel like what we learned was how high his upside is. What we're gonna continue to learn is how special these matches are and how good he really is. Problem is, what we didn't learn was he's pretty darn good, and the rest of the tour has to catch up to him. And if he's the rabbit in the greyhound race, he's already lapped the greyhounds. You know what I mean?
Well,
So it's a tough thing. We didn't know. I don't think how far ahead the rabbit was. We found out this tournament.
I'll push back on the back end of that just a little bit, because I think one thing that I did learn, which is almost in direct contradiction to Carlos's distance away from the field, I learned a lot about Alexander Zverev. And I
Yep.
usually don't give Alex a lot of props, and I usually maybe undersell what he's done as a player throughout his career,
Sure.
what he's achieved. I mean, we obviously look at the goose egg and the Grand Slam total, right? But short of that, he's done a lot. He's won Masters events, he's won year in championships, he's finaled a few Grand Slams, and you don't get much closer than he got to Carlos in the semifinals without winning. And I say that
Right.
because not only has he beaten Carlos in Grand Slams, he has also pushed Carlos to the depths in the latter ends of Grand Slam matches. So in their
Yep.
last, I think it's their last three matchups, right? In Grand Slams, it's 2-1 Carlos, but the two matches
Yep.
that Carlos has won have both been in 5 sets. And one was in the semis
Yep.
and one was in the finals. Finals of Roland Garros 2 years ago, that have been
Yep.
2024. And then obviously the semifinals of Australian Open this year. So I think Carlos does have these special tools and a belief, honestly, and that's almost just enough to get him through oh my, I always lose that word this week. These hairy situations, if you will,
Yeah. Yeah.
against Alexander, but that doesn't mean that Sasha's not close. He's
Right.
fairly close. He's 3 in the
Yeah.
world. I mean, 3, 4 in the world, whatever you want to, wherever he
Yep.
is on a given week, but he has consistently made semifinals, finals of Grand
Oh,
Slams
for
over the
sure.
last 3
Yep.
years. I can't take that away from him. Like,
Nope.
I
And
might
played
not
a heck
be
of
the
a match.
biggest, right? I might not
Right.
be the
Fair
biggest,
fan.
like, yeah, I might not be the biggest Ferris fan, but I don't think that doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the results speak for themselves, and he's not going out and playing Carlos. Like, if you want to make any declarative statement about where the line is of players where Carlos is like, I'll put Carlos and Jannik and maybe those just two, and then Novak, depending on what event we're at, have
Right.
distanced themselves from the field.
Right.
Look at what Carlos did against De Minaur, and then look at what he did against Zverev. And I think that's
Right.
that's
Right.
actually a better representation of like where the gap is. It's probably around like it's 1 through 3, and then Fritz or Zverev, depending on the draw, will be there,
Right.
and then we'll see. Like, and then we'll see. But no one else is getting close. It's first on
No one
grass. That's about
else.
it.
No one else is getting close, Alvin. I said 10 earlier. Sorry, three slam finals. Um, and I'm thinking that when I'm looking at it, and obviously, of course, he's played a long time. 40 singles finals that he's been in, winning 24 of them. So, Alvin, your point's well said, and he had a phenomenal match against Carlos, and Carlos too was on the ropes, right? Let's not forget that. I'm not buying the medical issue. Nod,
Right.
wink, wink. I'm not buying that for a second, and that was unfortunate. At the same time, he got the lucky end of that break against against Novak. You know what I mean? And to pull out last year. So that part it is what it is. The I it wasn't notable to me because he's done it before. Otherwise, was it a great match? Am I happy to see him? Did he play better? 100%. Did he continue to fight and show some things that he hadn't shown before? 100%. Was it probably one of his best iterations yet? 100%. Unfortunately, it was the same bottom line at the end of the day, and that's not for nothing, but it is to say, unfortunately, for the stats of what it is, it was the same. So I agree with you. I've liked Sasha since he came out. You know, I've talked at length about his brother Misha, and I've known the Zverev family for some years from back in the day. I get it. I just want to make sure if we're talking about notables and what we learned, right? I'm going to stick with that to say who showed, who gave me something different that they hadn't given me before. But I couldn't. I'd put an asterisk on that with Mr. Zverev because he's shown me that before, and quite frankly, I still feel sun, moon, and stars are just right. He will still get his slam. I really feel that. I think he could still get that done. He just better hurry. Because
Yeah.
he
Yeah. I'm
may
I'm
not
I'm
have a
starting to
lot
come
of time
around.
left.
I'm starting to come around on the idea of Alexander Zverev, the Grand Slam champion. Like, I feel like it when we talk about Novak needing a little bit of luck, the
Right.
right opportunity, and we damn near had it in this tournament,
We
right?
did.
Um,
We did.
I think we have to say the same thing for Alexander Zverev, like in the same breath. Like
100%.
he
100%.
just needs a little bit of luck.
Yep.
He just needs a little bit of luck, and maybe I don't want to go as far as saying he needs to play someone. He needs to go through an entire Grand Slam and not play either Carlos or
Yep.
Sinner. I
Yep.
think his best path is if he only had to play one of them, avoiding Sinner and playing Carlos. Like,
Sure.
and this is
He's
like
a
this
much
was
better
the
matchup there, isn't he?
opportunity.
Right.
Yes, he's not.
For the
Yeah,
matchup.
the matchup with Sinner is horrible. But the matchup with Carlos is a little more favorable
Yep.
in the fact that he does have I think he has a better chance. It's almost a coin toss between the two of them. Like we're talking about it
Yep.
at this point, 7-6 in the favor of Carlos. Like I mean, he's done it a few times. He has
Yeah.
done it.
Yep.
So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he pulled one out even this year. Like I honestly I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Yep.
He's right there.
As would I. As would I. I think he's right there. And no one's more deserving, right? The guy's been absolutely putting in work, for a long time. And lest we forget, still battling diabetes in the same time. I mean, it's not like this guy never made an
Sure,
excuse about it.
sure.
It's almost half people don't even fully understand that. It's James Blake made a great comment to say he's like he's playing two matches at the same time. You know what I mean? And I thought that was a nice way of saying it. He's still battling. For him, it's what it's always been for him. But I just think it's important that the listeners and viewers out there understand that that's no small feat. For anybody else, that would have been reason and an excuse as to why you didn't come through. He's doing it all
Yep.
the way to three in the world. You know what I mean? So I like that. I like what that says about him, his character. And because of that, right? Knowing how precious energy is, knowing how precious, the length of the match can change his everything from his diet to his medication. That, you know, when Lerner stole that breaker from him in the second, what I mean, with that running slap forehand, you had to be Alex had to be like, God, dang it. Oh, now I gotta play another set. I mean, you could almost see
to play another
inside,
set.
and now he destroyed him in that third set. But just saying, like the fact that he had to go that much deeper in the tank, and again, I didn't mind him blowing up about that situation against Carlos. He wasn't so much pissed at Carlos for taking it; he was pissed at the officials for allowing it. You know what I mean? Because he's like, hey man,
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
knees. I'm hurting. You know what I mean? I'm fatigued. You know what I mean? What is this? I thought there was nothing. There was no medical attention for, for cramping. And again, and I think that ATP's got to step in on that, both tours. And I understand the medical side. You can't say 100% for sure. You can't ever know the difference between cramping and an injury. And the player
Mm-hmm.
can always say, I have a medical injury. So there's always going
Right.
to be some gray until they have some AI infallible robot that will know the difference, right? That can go through and give you a full body scan on the court side. There's nothing that we'll never know. And so they're going to have to do something like that. And I would even say on the flip side of that, Zverev's going to have to, manage that himself a little better. And hey, they say win the Rome, pull some of the same antics and do your thing, because you can't complain about it and talk about it. It's legal. You know what I mean? So embrace it.
Okay, but at that point, there's kind of two things there, right? So one, when that happened, mid second set, whatever, Alex had a chance to win the set. He didn't. I mean, he was serving for it. He didn't.
Yep.
He also won the next two sets. Let us not forget that he did win sets 3 and 4. So the net of it was nothing. Actually, it was nothing. So, but on the other side of that coin, tennis is a very personal game, right? You go watch a tennis match, like you can see the players, you can hear the players. Like they are, if you go to a smaller tournament or an outside court, like you're right there, right? You know everything they're going through, their expressions are as clear as day.
Yeah.
It's a very
Very
intimate
visceral
environment. It is. And I don't like, while the idea is to get everything we can get right, let's get it as right as possible, right?
Yep.
To the effects of things that are binary, like line calls, right? If we can be perfect with line calls, let's be perfect with line calls. That's fine. But there are some things about tennis that are unwritten, require a little je ne sais quoi, if you will, as we look forward to the next Grand Slam. I like a little bit of my tennis-specific gamesmanship. I remember once you told me a story about Donald Young way back in the day at U.S. Open with the shoe tying incidents, right? Like just like, and just buying time. It's just there are little things about tennis that even at the professional level, if you've played this sport a long time, like the pros are just sometimes just taller juniors. It's sometimes it's kind of the same nonsense. And I find that to be extremely like refreshing and comforting. Like they're just bigger versions of me. We're all playing the same sport. They're just playing at a higher level.
The one that comes to mind still puts a smile on my face because it's so Novak. Early days, Novak is in the first round playing Gael. First round of U.S. Open back in the day. That's got to be like 04, maybe 05. I can't remember. It was back then. Maybe one of the viewers or listeners can pull it up and remind me. But Novak is, let's just say he's got a little heat sickness, you know what I'm saying? But gets up, pukes on the court, and looks around. The crew at U.S. Open, they're contracted labor, and the brothers there from the Queens are like, I ain't touching that. Takes about probably about 5-10 minutes for the brothers to realize who's going to even go get the mop bucket. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, Novak puts the towel over his head, like, got 10 minutes at least.
Right, exactly.
I may have 20. But to your point,
the spot's got to dry.
It's got to be cleaned up. You know what I mean? And he wins the fifth 6-1. He's back in the locker room. And in my best Novak impersonation, he says, this was not conditioning. This was tactics. And every time I hear tactics, my mind goes right back to him almost pounding his chest in the locker room, talking about how how smart, how savvy he was that he puked on the court to buy himself some time. So I'm with you on that, Alvin. I really am. It's because to have the awareness, right? To be able to know puke. Never puke. I won't puke on the court because I need time.
On the
And
court.
the fact that he did
On the
it
court.
to perfection. And again, that was early. That was beta. That was beta testing Novak. I mean, so we already know, multiple slams later, 38 finals later, buddy, this guy's a tried and true veteran, so I'm with you. And I like it. You know what I mean? I like it. But it's one of those stories that, to your point, it brings that little extra something. And those that deal in the depths of gamesmanship, they, all you can do is respect it. All you can do is respect it
Yep.
because you got to play with
All
it.
you can do is respect it.
Let me ask you a
Yep.
question.
Sure thing.
Did you think that Carlos, only in one slam, but was Carlos affected, not affected? Did he look at any times more vulnerable or not? Minus on Carlos Ferrero in the box. Question number one. I have four.
You have four. Okay, that was question number one.
I have five.
I think
have four more.
okay, all right. I think no. I mean, we are on the record. You can go back and listen to our podcast when the announcement in December about them parting ways when it occurred, and I was steadfast at that point in time. Like, Carlos still has to hit the tennis ball, right? And there is a certain point where you get what you need to get from a certain coach, and then you can move on, right? Carlos is not a child. Like, we can't mistake the smiling and the free spirited for a lack of maturity. My man has won, prior to this Grand Slam, 6 Grand Slams. Like, Juan Carlos Ferrero didn't hit a single ball in those Grand Slams, right? Like, yes, he was obviously very instrumental in taking him from a junior player to a professional player to a high performing 6-time Grand Slam champion before they parted ways. But it's not like Carlos wasn't there also for each one of those steps, and I say that to say he got those experiences. He picked up we might have gone back to the first French Open he won, or the first Wimbledon that he won. And he's like, what do I do? Okay, great. Juan Carlos is there for him, as someone who's been there. But now, guess who else has been there? Carlos Alcaraz has also been there.
Yep.
He's been there.
Oh, for sure.
At a certain point, he can and should rely on himself to be able to, continue to evolve as a player. Federer did not have the same coach for his entire career. Novak has changed coaches many times. Rafa, yes, he did have Uncle Tony for a long time, but then he switched coaches to Moya, right? Like, they were never going to be together his entire career.
Right.
And so at some point, they're going to split. And from what I saw in this tournament, I mean, he got through 2 very tricky situations, a 5-setter against Zverev, in which, he got through it. So either the coaching doesn't matter, or the information he was receiving from Lopez and team were just fine. And then he also gets through the greatest player of all time coming out guns a-blazing, and Samuel Lopez giving specific information about needing to back up on the serve a little bit and take a little different approach in the second set. So, and then we get 3 sets on the trot. So I don't know what type of experiment we're going to run to figure out if there is something missing with Juan Carlos not being there. I'd imagine it's probably off court, if anything. Like, someone's in your life for a very long time, they're not in your life anymore. That's an interpersonal relationship. But from a tennis standpoint, like, no notes. Like, he won the Grand Slam with him 5 months ago. He won a Grand Slam without him a week ago. Like, okay,
keep it moving.
keep it moving. Yeah, as long as Carlos is still the one hitting forehands and backhands and running around like a banshee, then I'm gonna say you might as well take the bag. Like, you coach him.
Sure.
I'll coach him.
Right. Hey,
he'll be fine.
I'm available. Carlos, if you if you're hearing this on the pod, I'm available. I told Roger that one time, getting out of the cars at the U.S. Open one year. I told him I could work him in my schedule. I saw that he was without a coach. He got a little chuckle. He got a little chuckle out of that. Iga's next slam? Specifically, what's her best chance in the slams coming up for the rest of this year?
The rest of this year, I feel like the women's game right now is, it really is like, how is the draw gonna break? Like we were very chalky in this event, right? Top seeds advancing. You know, I think we got the top 4 seeds on the women's side in the semifinals, like, or at least most of them into the maybe the top 8 in the quarters. If I'm off by a little bit, it's close. But with that being the case, it really is a game of matchups, right?
Yep.
If Iga finds herself against some of the bigger hitters, now Iga's tricky because she's been losing to all of these women lately. I think we might have covered that in our last pod, if not the one before that. She's been losing to a lot of these ladies lately.
Hence the question.
Hence the question.
What's her
Fair.
next one? What's her next best chance at one? And you know where that question is going. ...
Her next best chance is at the French Open. She's won it 4 times. Like, I mean, it's
okay.
She's still my favorite going into the very next slam because she's won it 4 times. And if we're gonna say Aryna Sabalenka is the one who's always there, well, she's won it 0 times. So I'm gonna put my money on the one who's won it 4 times, and then it's the field after that.
Okay.
What about you? What do you think her next slam chance is?
Isn't one. And I hate to put it like that. I don't think she needs too much help in the draw for the next foreseeable 3 to 8 slams, and I can't go past next week, let alone next month. So that the next 8 is 100% projection of what I know today. But I think there is too many. There's just too many. What did they call those girls in Wonder Woman, Valkyrie or whatever? There's just too many of them right now that all can beat her, that she has to get through. And she needs help from several of them to get to beat each other before she plays with them in the semis and gets to the final. I thought and that's what Amanda helped her do in Wimbledon, and I think that's why she ended up winning the one at Wimbledon this past year. I don't know if she will be as lucky going forward now that Rybakina has had her resurgence. To me, it's only going to get tougher. And with that now being the matchup, there's going to be more chances of her matching up to one of them in the quarters earlier, let alone the semi, and of course the final. I don't like her chances, and I love her as a player. I think she's going, in my opinion, going to go through that phase where Martina Hingis went through, where she was beating everybody until some of the top players that we now know as the go-to of the game stepped up and rose to that occasion. So that's where I'm at. Do I counter out? Definitely not. Will she beat somebody on their bad day? Oh, 100%. I just think the road to get there got a lot harder. And if she drops off anywhere, the French in particular, the mathematical likelihood of her reaching those players in the round of 16 or in the quarters is exponentially higher. And I'm concerned for her because I feel like she's now fighting uphill a lot more often. Hence the question. That's what I was asking you. Do I think the French is their best chance?
Yeah.
Just because she's won it. Do I think that didn't help her last year? You know what I mean? And I don't see it. I don't see her situation having improved with the recent arrival. You gotta keep in mind, Alvin, Amanda did not play well this tournament, and Amanda is not beating her. Now, maybe not on clay, but just saying, she she redeemed herself from that Wimbledon match in the U.S. Open a handful of weeks later. So to me, even that, and Amanda went out in the round of 16 in the quarters. I mean, Amanda, and so that was a fairly early exit for her. So I'm saying that to say you still got the other players to deal with. I'm not pronouncing a death sentence by any means. I'm just saying, as far as winning another slam, it just got harder. That's all I'm saying. And that was why I was asking the question. Push back. I know you want to push back. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, because especially when we start to look at, I think we're looking at kind of 2 things at one time when we're talking about Iga. One is we look at her heights, right? She was 1 in the world for a very long time, was winning consistently winning Grand Slams, consistently winning the same Grand Slam, right? 3
Yep.
years in a row she won the French Open. But now she has fallen all the way back to number 2 in the world. She's 2 in the world,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
that has primarily due to the coming of age of the woman that we say is the closest comp to Serena Williams that we've seen in women's tennis since Serena left. Okay, so I think
Sure.
when we lay out the landscape here of women's tennis, and then with that being the case, last year on balance was her best year performance wise across the Grand
Yep.
Slams. She had 2 semis and she won one. So I'm like,
Yep.
at that point, I'm like, what more do you want from her? She was the second best performer on aggregate at the Grand Slams last year behind Aryna, and that's why she finished the year number 2. The thing is, I don't consider any of these women to be without flaws. I don't expect all of the top 8 to make the quarterfinals every single time. So I still think, I mean,
She'll get
she
some
won
help.
Wimbledon. That
Yeah.
was 2 slams
Yeah.
ago. She got some help and won a slam. Like,
Yeah.
but she
She can
also was in the
receive
semis of
help.
the 2 slams prior.
Yeah. She will receive help.
Everyone
She
can
will get
receive
help.
help.
I just don't think it will be as easy, and I don't think it's as likely. That's all I'm saying. I said before. We'll move on. Here's my next question. Of the next gen players, I'm talking everybody from Blocks to Jodar, Lerner to Fonseca. I'm including in that group because that's really his peer group. Which of them gets top 10 first?
Top 10 first. It'll probably be Lerner. I mean, probably for 2 reasons. One is pretty simple. He's the closest to top 10 right now. And being top 10 is a function of consistency over the course of the year. Lerner, I would imagine his weakest surface is probably going to be grass. He'll play like 2 grass court events in a year. Outside of that, I think Lerner will draw the line. Lerner is like a version of de Minaur in that he's going to get to a point where there's going to be a line of people below him that he will not lose to, and a line of people above him that he will not be able to beat. And do I think that line is at 15 in the world? No, it's probably, I've seen him beat 15 in the world. He's beaten Rublev before. So I think it's a little higher than that.
Yep.
And he's extremely young. So as you're,
20.
you know, in the next year, do I think it's the next year he's going to become top 10? Maybe from the standpoint of he has no points to defend, like very little points to defend. Maybe it's this year. Is it in the next 2 years? Yeah, because I think he's got the balance to perform on all surfaces over the course of the year, which means he's got to bust a quarterfinal or 2 in Grand Slams. Yeah, it could happen. I think it's him. Fonseca.
Do you have a
I'm
do
a
you have a
little
number
concerned
2?
about his. Yeah. It's without looking at the rankings by age right now. I mean, Fonseca's the easy answer. I think the popular answer is Fonseca first. And you didn't ask me who's going to reach the highest. I'm going to put Lerner is going to be the first one to crack top 10. Fonseca will do it after him, but I don't expect that to be extremely quick. Still some growing to do there. Get that all together.
I would
What say you?
love to be as bullish as you are on Yao. I haven't seen some of the progress I would have liked to have seen. I'm not mistaken, Spizzeri beat him in this tournament. And if I'm not mistaken, I was not seen. I know he's been hurt and he's been dinged up a little bit. I have been more impressed with Jodar and with Blocks than I've been with him in as far as what I've seen. It's not to say that I don't think he'll be as good. I just haven't seen enough yet for me to think that he's on a rocket. I think he is on he's certainly on a intercontinental ballistic missile. I will say that, but I don't think he's on the Titan 5. And I say that to say, I think Lerner is on a 100% meteoric rise. I think, in my opinion, I think it'll be Blocks or Jodar before. I just feel like what I'm seeing from them and their game styles and what they're able to do, they're just a ton. with a little bit of seasoning, I could see them having a breakout a tad sooner. And I feel like he showed me in the match, the two that I've seen him lose, that he's very easily beaten if you do a couple of simple things well. It's not to say that it's easy to do, but it's if you have that package, that profile. And unfortunately, about 50 of the guys in the top 7,500 have that profile. And that is a solid backhand to counter the inside out, right? And decent returns. And I think a lot of you guys have that kind of a situation. And so when I see that, I'm thinking to myself, he relies a lot off of redlining off the forehand, and I feel like if that's the case, that's going to be something he's going to run into. And I haven't seen him come up with the goods to have game style 2, game style 3 to be able to match it. I love the kid. I think he's great. I think he's a breath of fresh air. But much like I thought we put a little bit too much extra sauce on Pesci Pericard, but he was going to be this, that, and the third, and he's now unfortunately Pesci's kind of stalled out a little bit, but the reason he stalled out, Alvin, is he only has one big part of his game. The other parts of his game are still very underdeveloped. Until you get those things developed, he's still going to be a bit of a serve bot. You a pretty good serve bot at 6'8", but he still just has the serve. And as far as I'm concerned, you start getting to the top 100, top 50, top 30, let's have good returns. And it's just a matter of, you have to have more than that if you're trying to go the distance. So especially 3 out of 5. As I say, hence my question.
Yeah, I take all your criticism, or not criticism, evaluations of João Fonseca's current game, but I will also submit to you his current age. He's 19, right? And so when you look at two players, Leonard Tien, age 20, Fonseca,
Yep.
age 19, we've already established that, okay, Lerner has the skills. He knows how to play the game.
Yep.
He is very connected to the ball, right? That is what he's going to be able to ride, and then he will add on some firepower on top
Yep.
of that, and then that
Yep.
combination will probably be when he hits his peak. He's also a very extremely short player. But when you look at Fonseca, you cannot deny the raw ability that's there, the high end that's there. And my man is already top 40 in the world with 1
With
year,
flaws.
two,
Yeah.
yeah, with
1 year under
eh,
his belt with flaws.
like
Totally
every
understand.
player's got flaws, right? But not every player's got tools like that.
Yep.
And so, I mean, he won an ATP 500 event this year. That's a
Yep.
nice check mark.
Yep.
He's halved his ranking over the last year. Another check mark. I mean, I've said it. Others have said it, and I still believe it. That kid will win a Grand Slam one day. That is big man's tennis right there. That's big boy tennis. It's going to take a little while to it's like a in the NBA, right? The players that take the longest to develop are the centers, right? But every team needs a center, right?
Yep. Yep.
So you're going to wait. You're going to wait a little
Yep.
bit.
Yep.
That is Grand Slam winning potential right there.
I'll be front row with you when it happens. I think it'd be great. I'm only telling you, there's still some work to be done. I feel there's work to be done with players like Coco Golf and others. So I feel that, and she's already got 2 slams to her credit. I totally get what you're saying. Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate right now. Here's another question that's right up your alley in your former TV role.
Okay.
What did Australia get right? What did the advertising? What did the tournament itself, the broadcasting? What did ESPN get right with AO this year?
Okay. So ESPN made a very obvious choice to move off of some of their elder talent that had been broadcasting on ESPN for a very long time. The likes of Cliff Drysdale, the likes of Mary Carrillo, the likes of Pam Shriver, right? And moved into a different space, getting more out of their A+ talent in Malika Andrews, getting more of, we've mentioned Chris Eubanks kind of front and center there. I think that's even Coco Vandeweghe, who I'm not as big a fan of, her broadcasting anyways, but I think that's a strong move to continue to grow with the game. The game moves forward. You're the way you cover it has to move forward. I think they did a fantastic job with their graphics package. I'm always a little iffy about the way that people use data to express what's happening in tennis. It's kind of hard to use data in the moment during a tennis match because data is aggregate. Tennis is a game of, you can lose more points than your opponent and still win the match. Like sometimes pretty handily. So it's data in tennis is a little tricky, but I think especially like when you look at the movement of serve, they're measuring heights of kick serves and widths and tails and stuff like that. I think that's really informative to the viewer, to like really let them know, like, okay, I understand what 6 feet is. I take my height, and you're telling me when that ball crosses the baseline, it's above my head.
Right.
That's a problem. I can then deduce that's some serious action, right? So I think that's cool. The camera angles that they're able to get at the Australian Open, like when they go for that, like that behind the baseline that's right about 4 feet, maybe 5 feet high. That's the best angle in sports, man. It's
because you can
it's
truly
amazing.
see the trajectory,
you see the trajectory. You see how fast the players are moving. Like when you get that close, it's like, whew, that's a different. I will submit to anyone listening. Next time you watch a tennis match, I would like you to try to count. Even use if you have an iPhone player, iPhone, whatever, use the stopwatch function and time, like use the lap function. Time the distance, like amount of seconds between contact of shots.
Right.
You will start to see very quickly how fast that game is moving.
Right.
Yeah, you can't. You'll be tired just hitting the lap button frequently.
Your finger isn't as fast as it should be. Your finger will not. I don't think I've tried it before because I've had a lot of kids when I did strength conditioning. It doesn't measure anything under a second that well. So you'll be stuck at 1.1, 1.08, maybe if you're lucky, you'll get a 0.9, a 0.8 every one if you have just lightning touch, but you don't realize how fast it takes to even on that lap function. Alvin, you're exactly right. In that high tempo, some of the balls those guys hit in the first set when Novak and Carlos were smacking the ball back and forth, there were sometimes, Alvin, there were 6 shots. There were 6 shots in under 6 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, back and forth, full length ground strokes. I mean, that's high tempo, buddy. I mean, I agree with you 100%. And the graphic with the little bit of flames behind it, well, I thought was a really nice touch. I thought that was great, a little cheesy, but you know what I liked about it was it helped you to see the trajectory of the ball, but it also not the ball moving as high as it was, but it also helped you appreciate because I think if I'm not mistaken, it had various colors on it based off pace. So I like that part too, which is pretty cool. So I agree with you. I thought they did a phenomenal job, and it was neat to see. And I know you from your background and TV and sports would have appreciated the finer parts of it that most of the viewers and listeners, I know me myself, don't always pick up on.
Yeah, they're. I mean, ESPN has a lot of experience here. There are some things that I'll always continue to wish for, and we've had these conversations in places that I've worked before. Like specifically, I'm going to get really into the weeds here. If you are watching ESPN, this is for our American viewers, ESPN on what I call a connected device, right? A device that you plug into your television that uses the internet to bring you content. When you go into the ESPN app, and if anyone from ESPN is watching, listening, please hear me out on this one. Put the scores of the matches into the match tiles. The match tile is that little rectangular thing that says, Djokovic versus Musetti or whatever. But put the score in there. They can do it. I know they can do it because you'll see another sport right next to it with 3-2 in this particular hockey match or whatever. It's like, just do it. Just do it. It bothers me that I have to go into a match just to see what the score is, and I can't navigate. I can't navigate in the way that I want to. That's my own personal complaint. Kind of tangentially related. Did Craig Tiley He's doing some things. He's moving around, likely leaving Tennis
Yeah.
Australia and taking the big job at the USTA. Had some comments, outgoing comments on his way out. I think it's maybe the last day or the second to last day. One of note mentioning that he thinks that from the quarterfinals on, the women could or should
Oh,
be
the
playing
3 out of
best of
5.
five.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is it's an interesting comment. Grand Slams can do whatever they want. Like, he did mention that they'd have to be, lockstep with the players, so it'd be a lot of conversations for it to happen. But he said they could do it as soon as 2027. Like, they have the authority to change whatever they want. It's their
Right.
tournament.
Right.
I did see Jessica Pegula was like, I don't want to play best out of 5. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The men should play best out of 3. We don't need more tennis. So I submit to you, a question to you is, where do you land on specifically that? Do you think the women should be playing best out of 5 quarterfinals on out?
We've had this conversation before. You know I'm a big fan of 3 out of 5. The only reason I would say no is the history that they haven't played. If I am judging the question off of wanting more tennis, if I am judging the question of, and I don't even touch the equal thing. That point is well said and irrelevant right now. We're talking about intent. We're talking about length of match. We're talking about quality. I would tell you that I love 3 out of 5. I'm gonna tell you I love 3 out of 5 at the slams. I would tell you the only thing against would have against Craig's comment is, why not do that for the entire tournament? Why do it from the quarters on? Just saying. Think that there's either you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. I get JPEG's point. I get all the ladies' points, and they have a long year. It's not just the slam they're playing for; it's the entire year. It's a lot of tennis. I just feel that it's unfortunately part of the men's game. Fortunately, it's part of the men's game. It has not been a part of the women's game. It's never been part of the women's game. It's like all of a sudden now we're going to have, girls softball versus baseball go 13 innings now instead of 9, right? It's because, right? Because the World Series can do whatever they want. Let's just say the College World Series, for example. And so to me, I don't know. It hits me a different way history wise. Do I like it? Sure. Do I think it's a nice way of kind of throwing out there for conversation, test the waters? Of course I do. Do I like 3 out of 5? 100%. I'm not so sure it would gain the players' support. So therefore, it may not ever happen. So it's a moot point. Would I like to see it? Sure. Would I like to see it for the whole tournament? Absolutely. But I don't want it on the grounds of anything other than I want more tennis. And again,
Okay.
only at the slams. So,
Yeah.
I would also submit to you, I think the ATP and WTA tour should write in some rules this is related, on winning a tournament that exempt you, dare I say, should let you out, almost mandatory, for the betterment of the rest of the year, to be off the next tournament. Don't pull out. You're already out. You won the tournament. And so we're putting somebody else in your place. So we are doing this for the longevity of the game. And when you win a tournament, you get whatever bonus points and pass through for the next tournament so that you can stay healthy. Otherwise, you're almost dinging the player for winning and the player getting the final for winning. And you're in a sense penalizing them because they got to get their next tournament in. That win should give them a pass the next and the finalist so that they can rest with the body to be good for the rest of the year. And that's just something I want to put out there. I feel like the tournaments really lose something. Last year's French really hurt me, Alvin. I saw so many players pull out. I want to say it was something stupid. It was like 14 players were out, and I think within the first 3 or 4 days, there was something crazy. Like I want to say 18 of the 32 seeds were out by the first few days before the quarters around 16 even happened. I mean, they were already gone, pulled out, hurt, retired, dinged up. Crazy match, walkovers, and I'm like, guys, this is May. This is May. This is not September. This is not October. We're early in the year, ain't even half over. And I think that had a direct result of how long the season was, how long the clay court season was, and whatever ATP tried to do with that whole extra bonus pool garbage, which is again players' fault for taking the money. I just feel like there's a different ATP tour for the top two. There's a different ATP tour for the top 12, and there's a different ATP tour for, let's just say, 25 8 to 100, right? And I think, and we all know that the outside the top 100 ain't even getting in yet. So there's a different tour for them. So I feel like the rules need to be flexible enough that we incorporate everyone with whatever caveats are needed for the top, because let's face it, they're carrying the game.
Okay, well put. I'm gonna go back to the best out of 5 set part. Yeah, the player schedules and management. That's gonna have to be another episode for me. That's
Yep.
that's a long one, and I think it deserves some space and some thought.
Yep.
But on the best of 5 part, I start to just kind of break it down by with a series of questions. It's like, okay, when you say the women should pick up best out of 5 sets from the quarterfinals through the finals, I'm saying, okay, well, why? Why are we doing it? And it's not because of equal prize money. I doubt that's the argument. If it's for more tennis, that's fine. Okay, then the next question is, to your point, like, why not the entire tournament? If
100%.
we're and now we're adding in a different variable here. Now I think once you go from 2 out of 3 to 3 out of 5, it's not about execution. It's almost about attrition, right? It's
Got
a
that
whole
right.
different situation. So, with that being the case, though, for me, just my preference, I don't want it, and I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't need it for the women's game to be better. I think the women's game is great.
Sure.
I like that the margins are thin. Like,
Yep.
you would imagine with thinner margins, you get more variety in results.
Yep.
Like, nope, best players at the top.
Yep.
They all exist within these thin margins, and they all find
Right.
the best ones find a way to rise to the top. So I don't
Right.
need more. I don't need more.
Right.
You
Right.
could make the argument. I would be more, if we're going to change something, then the for the betterment, just like we were talking about for player health, the betterment would be to move the 3 out of 5 from the men's down to 2 out of 3. Now, I don't think we should do that either,
Right.
because we've come too far. The game
Yep.
is too established,
Yep.
and the way that we talk about records within this sport, it
Yep.
is almost the backbone of comparison that we use to
100%.
draw between generations, right? I understand other leagues move things, right? The NBA likes to move the 3-point line around, right? They're messing around. They never changed the length of the game. It's one of the reasons they're not moving off 82 seasons anytime soon. We have these records, and once they're established and your game is established, it's almost like you're stuck with them.
Yep.
So within tennis,
Unless you have a really good reason for changing.
I mean, I want to
No.
be. I wish someone would present me with, give me 2 good reasons why we would change men from 3 out of 5, and then tell me how we're going to handle numbers like 24 Grand Slams, or youngest
Yeah.
to win the
Right.
career Grand Slam. The word
Right.
Grand Slam now means something different, right?
100%.
It's a different event.
We'll call it a
Um,
minor slam. Yeah.
yeah,
I
in
agree.
the
I
open
agree.
era, it has been this way. So unfortunately, I think we're
This
stuck
is
with this way.
and we're stuck in a good place. Let's not let's certainly not fool ourselves. I'm gonna skip over my fourth question, go to my fifth, because the segue is just too good.
Okay.
There used to be a time when Australia was on clay. There used to be
Yep.
a time when the Australian was played on rebound ace, a more of a rubberized kind
Hmm.
of recycled tire kind of material that played very differently in the very different elements. Hard court, stuck in quotes, it was a little more mercurial, depending on the weather, depending on the conditions, and it made the tournament itself play very differently. It seems, I think it's plexipave now or whatever it's called, and I think it plays a lot more like hard court. The question: does there need to be more variety within the slams? Roger was quoted recently as saying there used to be more difference between all the slams. Even Wimbledon is playing more like hard court in the second week nowadays, and it aids a certain style of player. He was quoted as saying something to the effect of, it was fun, it was challenging to get the feel of that tournament quickly and do it quicker than the opponents. And I thought that was a neat point for Roger, who's only recently retired from the game, to speak to. He feels like the game, or at least what I took from the comment was, he feels like the game is more homogenized now, and it's pretty much not quite hard court on the clay, to hard court the second week, to back to hard court, and with the exception of the extremely long clay court season, right? Uh, it seems as if the slams have almost become a bit more homogenized. My question, what say you?
Have they become homogenized? I would say if
And let me
if
let
they
me let me let me
have.
tweak the question. You may not agree if they have or not. Does the tour need another variation ish for one of the slams? Is Australia too close to US? I think is a better question. Do you think it needs to be changed? And that was the segue we were going to. The change.
Yeah, yeah, I think I think it's well documented that the clay has gotten faster, the grass has gotten slower. The hard courts are a little, there's variations in speeds of hard courts, but hard courts are kind of hard courts, right? To a certain extent. So you get a little more sameness
Mhm.
of the players doing well, but you're also getting a little more. This is like tennis kind of at a macro version. Like tennis has become even more global, which means there are more people moving about the globe. You have Spanish coaches coaching the United States. You have U.S. coaches going to, I'll use Europe, somewhere in Europe, to learn, like U.S. players going to Europe. You have this crossing of ideas and coaching styles crisscrossing all over the globe. And I think the way that players are taught is more homogenous now. The technology, strings, and rackets, off court training has allowed for that variance in different game styles to almost get closer and closer together. We see this now. Most players play the same way. They all kind of play the same way. And that leads to, okay, same game style means that no one's game style is really attuned to any specific surface.
Right.
You've got this B stock game for these B stock surfaces. You're gonna get these
Yeah.
B stock results. Like it kind of is what it is.
Right.
So I
NASCAR
mean,
almost.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Cars
on the
all the
same
same.
car. Everyone's on the same track. Like it's the same. So I mean, you could change if you sped up Wimbledon. I mean, what changes are you going to see?
Yeah.
Like if you slowed down the French Open, what changes are you going to see? I don't think the surfaces really matters. It's the players that are all kind of the same player, and they're all using technology that allows them to overcome whatever shortcomings or deficiencies they would have had on any
Yeah.
surface
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Like on grass, right? Serve used to dominate. Well, that was before polyester strings.
Yeah.
And when you move into a string that allows you to take rips off of
Yeah.
125 to the forehand and put it
Right.
right back on someone's feet, speed it up, slow it down, I don't care. We got
Doesn't
a
matter.
tech issue here, not
Yeah.
necessarily a speed of the court issue.
Right.
And yet, I'll use Wimbledon. Okay, I'll stay with Wimbledon as the example. French Open as well. How many different players have won Wimbledon in the last 25 years? Ain't that many. Ain't that
I want
many.
to say, let's do the. I'm going to say 8. I'm going to go out on a limb and say 8. 25 years.
Since the
I could
year
be wrong.
2000, and this is like whether or not, I don't remember when Agassi won his Wimbledon. It's like
Yeah.
it ain't 8.
The,
It's
I'm not
not
saying.
8.
I was going to say 8 at the
It's
high end. I was going back before X. I was going back before more
maybe
than 12
8.
years. I was going to say it's been Pete, several, Roger, several. It's been, see, Rafa and Novak. Andy.
Andy didn't win it. Andy didn't win it.
Andy won Wimbledon.
Oh, Andy Murray.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andy Murray.
Andy Murray.
Sorry, not Andy Roddick. Sorry.
No. Andy Murray.
Yeah.
Carlos and Jannik won it this past year. And Jannik hadn't won it yet. That's right. Jannik had. No.
Right. No, Roddick. He won it this year. He won this year. 25.
There might be one more in there. I'm telling you. I think it's.
And it's like whether or not you want to. It's like whether or not you want to throw Richard Krajicek in there. I think is the question.
What was that? 2000 or was that 90s?
It was close. Was Agassi 2000?
I think that was 90s. I think Agassi was in 90s too.
Well, that's the point, though. They slowed down the grass. They slowed down.
I think it's 8 or so. If memory serves. To your point, it ain't been minute, and there's been more multiples of the ones that have than it has been new players. To your point, I'm with you. It might be 9. I mean, I may be missing one player in there, but to your point, and the question I'm having.
If it were so homogenous, then we would have more variability, and we don't. It's still the best players, the best athletes win Wimbledon. Like
we'll still figure it out.
It's not really about the grass. It's about the players. Yeah.
Right. They will figure it out. The best will be the best. Just let them. Just give them up. Just give them time to show you. They'll figure it out. That's why they're the best. No, and the reason I was asking that is here we are at the recap episode, looking forward to the year to see what changes, if any, would you make things better, and what things you keep the same. Every sport has to continue to tweak. You and I were talking at length earlier about, game styles need to be reclassified. I look forward to talking to you about on a future episode with that, because I feel like that gets into coaching. That gets into how we train these players. We can no longer define it. Everybody's a hybrid. Everybody is a bit of a bit of that, a bit of that, with a little bit of this. And that's because no one is being a player type anymore. There are players that have all phases and players that don't have all phases, or not, at least not as comfortable. And there's time to use all of them when you have the right situation or not. There's time to take it early. There's time to back up. And so, to me, I look forward to that episode. But to your point, it's become so. You mentioned homogenous. I'm going to go further and say the level has gotten so good. Everybody is pretty much the coaching and the level of play is so highly developed that it's beyond not having a hole. They have multiple weapons. And so now it's just a matter of which ones do I use today, or how do I counter my B game to your B game, which may be the difference in this match. But I have the tools to use. And the player that has the higher upside simply has 3 different ways to beat you versus the 1 or 2 ways that he may have. And that's something that we'll talk to in a future episode. But that's why I was asking you, does the game need to change? Does the ball need to be a little bigger and slow down? Does the hard court need a little more grit in the in the paint, in the acrylic? Is that, something to throw in a wrinkle to make it a bit more, I'm not going to say challenging. It's already pretty challenging already, but something to throw in a monkey wrench, as the English would say, a spanner in the works. So that's kind of that's what I was getting at, was just your take on it from an entertainment and from a production standpoint. I felt like I wanted to get your take on it, because I'm always going to default to a coach's mindset. I'm always going to default to the quality of the tennis. Not necessarily always looking at the broadcasting, the color commentary, I see it, I recognize it. If a few of those get on my nerves, I just turn the volume down and I watch for myself. But I'm watching the tennis, and I feel like, I'm always curious to get your take, on the sports broadcasting side of things, sports production side of things, to help kind of keep help me see what I'm seeing. You know what I mean?
Sure thing. I think it's I'll show it up on ESPN. They did a good job. I think as we toss it over to, not HBO, but Warner Brothers Discovery for the French Open, that's a few months from now. But the bar is, the bar has been set. We'll see what they do. I think that's a good place for us to stop. I think Australian Open is always I always say it's a badge of honor to get up early and watch these matches, and really you have to
Yeah.
earn it here in the United
Yep.
States if you want to watch the
Yep.
Australian Open. And ESPN did not make it easy with their 17 packages, but
Yeah.
we made it. We made it through.
Yeah.
We made it through. We kicked the year off right. It's like opening weekend of college. Like, hey, everyone's
Yeah.
here. Some people look great. Some people got stronger.
Yep.
Everyone's happy to be here. Everyone's fresh,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
we are officially out of the gates, and the season is amongst us. So, with that,
Yeah.
I'll put a pin in it. I'm Alvin. That's Tori. Best of three. We are out.